I'm just about to get up to say, excuse me, I think I'm gonna go to the bathroom for a second. And I threw up on my plate.
Yeah. You're sitting at dinner, with the Kennedys.
Right on my plate.
Yeah.
At which point, Jackie, without missing a beat, said, "Good shot, Jim." And of course, John is across the table from me now, hysterical.
Yeah.
Laughing. He thinks it's just the funniest thing in the world. And I say, "Excuse me," I put my napkin over my plate. Said, "Please excuse me." And I went down to John's room and I sort of washed up. And I came out. By the time I came out, they'd moved on to dessert.
Subscribe for more.
I live in Greenwich Village, and we have these big windows that open out. It's an old building that was built in 1820 something. And there's a big wrought iron window box, so I can sit in the window and turn on the music. And I like to listen to my music at the volume that it would be at if you're there, if it's live. So if it's a jazz combo in a small club, then it'll sound like that. If it's a symphony, it'll be at that volume. If it's the Rolling Stones, then I listen to it at that volume. That of what it would be like if you were this far from the stage, One night I was up in my window, and it was fairly late. And all of a sudden I see the neighbor from across the street comes out in his bathrobe, and all he does is come out into the middle of the street and go,
That's so New York. He didn't have to say anything.
He didn't say anything. He's like, I immediately jumped out of the window and turned the music down. It was a little teeny independent record store, and this husband and wife owned it, and they spent every dime that they made on cocaine and Quaaludes, and they just went back and forth. You can imagine what their household was like. They're either like pacing or asleep. There's cocaine and Quaaludes, every bit of it. So there was no stock. It was the only retail job I ever worked in. And it was just calcifying. I mean, it wouldn't even have taken much to fill the shop, because it was so tiny. And yet I think when I was working there, Some Girls,
the Rolling Stones
album came out. I think we had 4 copies or something. I mean, it was just so pathetic. So people would come in, they'd ask for a record. I'd do my due diligence. I'd walk them over to the bin. I go, no, we don't have it. And we'd have maybe another record by do you want this one by the same artist? It would be their least interesting record. They really like me.
Yeah.
This is an expensive store. And I took it out, and it was just a square of leather, which I've seen before, like when we just did a renovation at our house, and I was sent the same thing as a sample to what we might want to cover the couch with.
Okay, yeah. So it was like a leather sample.
It was like a leather sample. It's Hermes. I thought maybe it's a sample for what's possible to make a saddle out of.
Okay.
I really didn't have any idea what it was.
Gotcha.
So I called my friend Laura, who works upstairs, literally and figuratively. And so she came to my dressing room, and I said, because I was about to go downstairs.
Yeah.
There were going to be people there that
They had given it to you.
Not really.
Yeah.
Anyway, I said, "What is this?" And she said, "Oh, yes, I got the same thing. It's a mouse pad."
Finally, I say,
it was a huge meal that went on forever.
Did you have that? And you go, yes, I had that. Did you
I had
this
everything?
thing?
Yes, and had that. And then lots of sake.
But then you send over a piece of sushi. You send it over and you said, you have to try it. I go, I didn't get that. You go, oh, try it. That's really good. And your date was very nice. And she said, yeah, it's great. So we ate it. I go, that's delicious. So I go, send over 2 edamame beans to you. So I sent you 2 edamame. And then you laughed and you said, send them over. You have to try the sake we drank. It's really
Yes, we were sending over sake too.
So you sent sake to me. Then
it came time to leave.
And so you go, take care, buddy. Good to see you. Shook hands. And I go, bye, pal. You go out. You leave the restaurant, and the server comes over to me and she goes, that gentleman would like to thank you for paying for his bill. And you saluted me in the window and left.
New York City is the greatest city in the world. I mean, I really wouldn't live anywhere else. I really, I just love it here. And I wouldn't want to work anywhere else. But I must say, that just to get through the day in New York is a great effort for all New Yorkers. And anything that one does to hinder that effort is just unfair. And that's including shooting a television show on the street. It's a hindrance. This is a really crazy thing. There are places around the city called hot zones, which is a location for places that have been so egregiously abused and exploited by either film or television shows that they no longer can get permission to shoot there for the foreseeable future because they've been shooting there so much. But I must say, you do have to remind the production assistants who are detouring pedestrians to be polite and pleasant because, you know what, these people watch our shows and we wouldn't be here without that. Megan Boone, who's on the show.
Of course.
I said, so how have you been? What did you do during the time off? She said, I read all of Shakespeare's tragedies.
Wow. And what was your answer? What did you do during quarantine?
My youngest son, my 12-year-old, we'd go out and line up beer cans on the big rock out on the far end of the garden and shoot at him with BB guns.
So someone had a baby, someone read all of Shakespeare's tragedies, and you shot beer cans with the BB gun.
New Yorkers, don't ever let you think for a moment that you're in charge. Ever.
They go, get out of the way. This is my bus. We're filming a scene here. Like,
I'm going right over there.
I'm drinking my coffee.
So you stop filming and you let the person go over.
I love this city so much. Do not change. Never change New York, please.
It's the greatest city. I mean, just the mix of idiosyncrasies just come together. Driving down here, I was looking at all the people on the street, and it's New Yorkers that make New York so wonderful. And you realize that as a group, I adore them. They're insufferable individually, but as a group, they're fantastic, because you mix all those idiosyncrasies and eccentricities together, it makes this amazing stew, And all of a sudden he's walking by. This is after I've only been working there a few weeks. And he's walking by and he's just got this sort of demoralized look, is sort of hanging his head and wandering up towards the office, which was a shed, and headed that way. And I said, everything all right? He said, kid fell off the ride. I don't even know if they heard that. I said it too quietly. Anyway.
The kid fell off the ride.
Fell off the ride. And he said it, the way he said it, I just thought, I got to get the hell out of here.
You've always talked on the show admiringly about the writers on the Blacklist and how they continue to be inventive and not just keep it fresh for the audience, but for you. Does that continue to be true? Are you still excited to see where they take it?
Yes, no, it's completely self-serving in that, but in all seriousness, I mean, that really was what I think you have to look for in material that you're going to be doing for a television show, and especially if it seems like something you want to stick with for a little bit. And I read the pilot of this, and it was clear that there was the landscape was pretty broad, and the tone was very, at turns was very irreverent and funny, and at other times incredibly intense, and and I realized that this character really could go anywhere, and you could take so many twists and turns and surprises, and it still continues to. When I moved here, it was the late 70s and early 80s, and it was madness. I mean, it was really madness all the time. But St. Patrick's Day, for me, had a very particular resonant feeling. I was living at the time in a fifth floor walk up on 86th Street between 2nd and 3rd. And the St. Patrick's Day parade came to a stumbling halt on my block. And I'm telling you, it was just like a bacchanal down there. You go out at any time, starting after the parade ended, for the next 12 hours, there was just like fistfights and arguments and vomiting and urinating in the streets. And I mean, it was just craziness. Of course, 75% of the people that were participating were cops and firemen. So, I mean, who are you going to turn to?
You can't call the cops.
Right.
They're right there.
So I moved here. I dropped out of high school and I moved to New York, and I had absolutely no prospect, and except for a complete lack of fear. I mean, really, I really didn't have any sense that there was anything to be reticent about. I was ready to sort of jump into any of it. I moved into an apartment with my sister and like 5 or 6 other people. I slept on the living room floor. But one of my best friends in high school was John Kennedy Jr. And
Nice.
he was a year behind me. And so he was still at school when I came down to the city. And but he would come down every so often, and it would be sort of an oasis. I would go over to his apartment, and his mother, Jackie Onassis, was there, and so on. And I remember when I first nice, and she asked me how things were going. I said, "Well, I'm looking for a job," and she said, "Well, what would you be interested in?" And I said, "Well, actually, I would love any advice that you could give me about, or any help you could give me in terms of finding a job." I really didn't know anybody in the city except for my sister. My sister was just trying to make her way as well. And she said, "Well, what sort of job are you looking for?" And I said, "Well, at that time, I either wanted to be sort of a gangster or a private detective."
Well, those are occupations for a 17-year-old kid.
No, but I was, I don't know.
Yeah, you were a stone 17-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
she was
thought-
like, I can't help you, buddy.
Yeah, I can't help you with that. So anyway, I remember the first Halloween where we were going to get into trouble.
Okay.
Like that was by
So
design.
and that thing where, as young kids, you sort of decide weeks in advance we're going to cause some
There's
trouble.
conversation about it,
The sort of anticipation of the trouble, I think, as a young kid is more
absolutely.
exciting.
No, that's the whole of it, really.
Yeah.
And so we go out with some eggs, and we're taking them with us, and I don't even know how we were carrying them, but clearly it was a lot of like,
Yeah.
with the eggs, and we took them, and we went to the Perkins house. I mean, Mrs. Perkins, I had sort of a crush on Mrs. Perkins. I thought she was so. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the whole egg of it all was probably like, how you'd like kick the girl you liked sort of in the shins in the playground. Or
You were using the egg to flirt.
I guess. I don't know. I thought she was great. Anyway, we go to trick or treat at her house or something, and we didn't even like throw the egg. We sort of like dropped it. I'm not even sure, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, it's a long time ago. I'm not even sure if maybe we dropped it by accident.
I see.
I mean, it really could have been
and
as
then played
pathetic
it off
as
as
that.
like,
Mrs. Perkins, I had sort of a crush on Mrs. Perkins. I thought she was so. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the whole egg of it all was probably like, how you'd like kick the girl you liked sort of in the shins in the playground. Or
you were using the egg to flirt.
I guess. I don't know. I thought she was great. We had shot a third, close to a half of episode 19, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have anything to do with the footage. I mean, and we weren't going to be able to end the series. Our series is serialized, and we had left some things hanging in an unfortunate way if we just stopped. And we wanted a way to also not only give our audience, who has been so incredibly faithful to us and still continued to be curious after many years, we felt we should give them some sort of satisfaction for the end of the season, and then also to be able to lead into the next season effectively. Yet we had no way to shoot, to film. But there had been a comic book, which I haven't seen. I've seen imagery from it, but there had been a sort of comic that had been made, or a graphic novel.
Graphic
sort
novel,
of
right.
thing. And our show is a sort of comic. I mean, it's not this world at all. It's a sort of parallel universe, and it has a lot of the sort of, I think, sort of comic tropes, So we thought it might be sort of fitting. And it just so happened that somebody in our production, might have been John Eisendrath or something, had a friend or a relative or something that worked at an animation house that did a lot of pre-visual stuff for films and so on. And, to really do it, you would want to give someone half a year. I mean, months
Yes.
really to do it. But they were able to do a sort of an animation that was more like sort of a moving graphic novel. And so we decided to finish the episode and sort of tweak it in a way that would allow for the season to end in some fashion. And to kick us into the beginning of the next season this year. Comic-Con, it's all anticipation. I mean, they're not getting a performance in any way, shape, or form.
You get to see people.
It's a tease, because it's all anticipatory. It's like foreplay for hours and days. I mean, it's 3 days.
3 days of foreplay.
But what you don't realize is that it's not like, okay, at the end of the 3 days, you get that, it's going to happen. This is they're anticipating an event that's not going to happen for 6 months or a year.